I didn't forget to unmute myself, by the way. I did it like the two latest podcasts. So welcome everyone to the LIBERcast, the 40th episode of the LIBERcast. Damn, it's going fast. God damn, I'm so happy by the response of everyone, and I had an influx of French people, and that's a good sign. And I want to thank everybody that joined and subscribe to the Facebook and YouTube to encourage me and the beautiful guests that we have on the podcast. So I want to bring up a little something before we start. Here we go. So this is Caroline's Riley Shadow Work Community website, and she actually has a course on shadow working, and it's for everyone, for the beginners, for the curious, for the initiate, for the advanced people, because there's a lot of covered stuff there, the dreams, the interpretation of dreams and traumas and things like that. It's so important to start the work if you didn't. And I would suggest you to go see there what she has to offer and look at the stuff, because she had a page on Facebook. This it's called Shadow Work Community on Facebook. It's awesome group, by the way. A lot of great stuff there. So thank you, Caroline. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So we have a few great workers tonight, and it's gonna be an awesome conversation about preparing, and preparing in every sense, in every ways. And we're at the age of unveiling, and it's not because this is the veil of lies and deceptions they're gonna fall, that it's gonna be easy. We have to stand up, stand together. And this is, I want to bring up again, because the LIBERcast for me is that it's building a web of great people and put them together, and having awesome conversations and insights and wisdom that we can share with everyone, and growing at the same time as people, as great workers. And um, for the people who don't know what great workers is, are Nate, would you like to tell us what a great worker is?
Sorry, I had um, my mic muted. First, I want to say thank you for having me on your show. And yeah, great worker is definitely somebody who busts their ass. I guess the best way that I would say it is you're giving your time and your spiritual currency to the information that is available to help you become the greater version of yourself, and then to help others. But one of the things that I do is split up my day into, work that I have to do to be able to put the food on the table, keep the lights on, and also got to eat, got to exercise. But I would say probably most of the day I'm thinking about this type of information. But I would say, dedicating 8 hours a day, a third of your day to what truly matters in this world, which is, investigating yourself and really putting that time into learning how the world works, learning how the mind works, and, going up that spiritual mountain to, ascend to light, that I guess the way that I would put that also is having a focal point of something to strive to get to the truth, and constantly doing that, because the more that we get the truth, the more that we align to truth, the more that we align ourselves to moral law, natural law, then the more that we are going in the right direction. And once we have put in enough work into ourselves, then really the true great work comes once we go down the mountain and start giving a helping hand to others, and to show them how to lead them to the light. And it's a very difficult process. If anybody is a true great worker, and they know that it is not easy, and it is a great form of agape, the greatest form of love. And it takes a lot of ambition. It takes stop yourself from being so lazy, and transmute your cowardice into something more ambitious, and to take those chances, and become more fearless in the face of evil. And it's a very difficult process, and there's a lot more that goes into it, but it really just comes down to putting the base desires down, and really striving to be the better version of the self.
So that's a beautiful it's a beautiful way to say it. It's not easy. It's never easy. But I want you people to introduce yourself and talk about your work a little bit. So if people are interested in your work, where to go? James?
Hey, yeah, you guys been tuning into this LIBERcast roundtable for a while now. Familiar with me already. I'm James Cordiner. My website is freeyourmindne.com. I have a podcast. It's called A Hitchhiker's Guide to Truth, and we just rock and roll pretty much every week over there. And I really want to just say, thank you for having me again, of course, and I'm really happy to be here. So that's who I am, and yeah, we've just been rocking it out over at A Hitchhiker's Guide to Truth for coming up on 3 years. So since my podcasting debut back in 2019, so like I'm pretty excited about that, and come a long way. And so Shattering the Illusion as well is a baby of mine. Joe Murray as well. We came together and organized that, and it went well. And just kind of, not to drag it out too long, but one last big thank you to everybody that was involved with that. And yeah, you guys, if anyone wants to see more about that, you can go to just go to YouTube and Odysee. I prefer if you go to Odysee, because you'll actually be able to see everything. We already got one of our presentations taken down off of YouTube, so that's always great. And so go to Odysee and find the Shattering the Illusion channel, and you'll be able to check it out there along with all my work. So that's all I gotta say.
Nate.
Yo, yeah, my name's Nate Cap, and I consider myself a spiritual detective investigator, and I run 2 podcasts. One is called Cubbyhole, and the other one is called Outcasting. Cubbyhole is what I run with Brandon and Douglas Martin, and basically it's just a audio only podcast with slides. So you start at podcast 1, work your way forward so you get the maximum value. And Outcasting is just a little solo show that I'm doing. Basically, I just wanted to kind of step outside of the cubbyhole and work on video format. So it's a new show with 18 shows, and it is kind of a tapestry also. So it's good to start at podcast number 1, work your way forward through that as well. And so basically what I'm trying to do is just restore critical knowledge that I have found lots of value in, and try to help, advance the human evolution, the human species, with the goal of helping us all move in the direction of freedom.
I was muted again. Leslie.
Yeah. Hi. So my name's Leslie Powers, and my website is thrive.life, and I'm also on the One Great Work Network, and also as part of the team of people that helped to create the Funnel Conference. So that's exciting. And I've professionally been working in the field of clinical social work and mental health counseling for a lot of years, and branching out into doing more coaching as well. And I'm really excited to be here and to share my thoughts and be part of this team.
Thank you, Leslie, for being there.
Thank you.
Derek.
Freddie, merci beaucoup encore. Yes again.
Ça me fait plaisir, mon chum. Ça me fait plaisir.
Yeah. You see my name and then my moniker, Awaken Your Mind. I've been kind of like a spiritual conscious DJ for a decade. Mostly doing that in France, broadcasting all types of goodies from all arrays of specks of awareness that are kind of important. Otherwise, I wouldn't be investing this much time into everything that I do, which is, like Nate said, it takes up more time than anything else we do throughout the majority of our day, type of thing, So that's what I'm aligned to, keeping it divine and true, with natural law, all that good stuff. And yeah, I'm an aspiring scholar to really read my fire letter codex and all that stuff, and show others the goods on that. And yeah, trying to put the great work to the ground as much as possible, and bring everything else that I've had, done along the way, because there is no time to be resting on laurels. We could pick some, dry them up and make some beautiful sauce and all that good stuff. So yeah, spread that love around, guys. Yeah, cheers. Great to be here. Thanks again.
Thanks, Derek. Jin, are you there? Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much for allowing us to be here. We do the Natural Law Birth podcast, where our goal is to really bring truth and awareness to the birthing process, and bringing back that morality and empowering women, and bringing the connection back to the family, and prepping for people to give birth out of the hospital, because it's totally doable, and it's the most empowering experience that I've ever had. And so that's really our focus for our podcast. And thanks for having us. I love having conscious conversations. It really feeds my soul and empowers me so much. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jin.
Where can we find your work again?
Oh, we have a YouTube channel. It's called Natural Law Birth. It's on YouTube. Also, we have a presentation for the Funnel One conference, Freedom Under Natural Law. We're on there too.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Check that out.
Nice. So I think we have to talk about this because the times we're living in are kind of uncertain, and we are seeing all this civilization, the Western civilization, is shifting, and I still think about it sometimes, and it's at the time it's both scary and impressive at the same time. How swift it was, how fast it was. The shifting of society. It took what 2 years. Here in Quebec, the day after, everybody was into this. Everybody was. Nobody questioned it at first because it's legitimate to be insecure about these things, but people were ready actually for this new paradigm, this technocratic tyranny that is coming to us. Some people, um, a lot of people, by the way, George Orwell have warned us about this. They told us, but in their stories, in their books, the way of the future and what the optimal, in a sad way, in the pathetic way, the more optimal society would be the total enslaving of every main part of the human experience, the emotions, the intellectual part, and then the spiritual part. And the spiritual part, let me tell you something, they're ravaged it. We have people who are now don't agree anymore with Catholicism or Christianism, and they're going straight to New Age. And they're not learning how to be aware of your world around you and the responsibility of living in it. And I think this is one of the point of owning one's own responsibilities. And I think people take this world as granted. Scary, because you have I was talking with James about this earlier before the podcast, and I was telling him that this when this pandemic stuff started, the first thing that people did, it's to fucking empty the shelves of the toilet paper. Just imagine what is the reasoning behind this. I was like, if you don't eat, you're not gonna need your toilet paper. What are you gonna do with this? And this is only one of the examples. There's many, you know, and this engineering, the social engineering that keep people in scarcity mindset all the time, all the time. It's everywhere. You have the people who are desperately uh, uh, holding onto extraterrestrial people that are gonna save us, or politicians, you know. And it shows you where the lack of intelligence is being resilient and being prepared for everything, because this world is not. I would like to bring up something that Mark Passio said: security doesn't exist in the 3D world. So
Mhm.
just with this simple sentence, I think it's pretty evident. You know, you can, like, tomorrow they're gonna switch off the internet. They can do it. They can switch off the internet and cut people off from each other's because people got fucking too comfortable with this technological advancing. It's not because I'm not saying it's all bad. There's a lot of beautiful things that can emerge from it, like this podcast, by the way, and the conference that people made. It was made possible because we had internet, because we had networking and people working together. But if let's say tomorrow they're fucking cutting off everything. You know, the cities are the grandma and grandpa and the mom and pop shops all closed because they're the Walmarts of this world. You know, we're not we're the Western civilization has lost its fucking mind because of social engineering. People, and this is the one thing I was talking with my wife. You know, what if it's turned to shit and the shit hits the fan? You're gonna have people around you that are gonna be hungry. There's people like me who's gonna have children to feed, and these people, and I'm telling you, I'm ready for anything. So if only me think like that, imagine millions of people. So and I think this is where we have to use discernment and logic and common sense. I don't want to bore anyone with this, but I think it's one of the more of the psychological aspect of it, the mind control behind it, because it's all about mind control. This whole world gives us everything we need, even if we're 8 billion people, 9 billion people. Earth is gonna give us what we need. It's simple as that. And what we have movies about catastrophes all the time, burning and wars and things like that. You know, people are kept in fear because of that. You have the social repression. You have these cult of the alphabet everywhere now, confusing basic fundamental principles. People are fucking believing anything that doesn't make sense. All the crazy thing you can imagine, somebody believes it. And this is what we have to deal with. Deep ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
So I gonna let maybe Nate, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I would say the one thing that really, I mean, you just said it, deep ignorance, learning how to learn, the liberal arts, the trivium process. If we're really going to make any, headway towards a better world, that's one thing that we should definitely prepare for the future, is how to teach, how to learn, how to communicate, how to think. And if we can really start injecting that into the young, then, this is all about, progeny and posterity, right? So if we are really trying to prep for the future, I think that is very key. But obviously, if we really want to, make sure that people, when shit hits the fan and we don't have enough toilet paper, you know, we're the thing is that we have to be smart. We have to be vigilant and understand that there is a process in which we prepare, and that is the information of natural law. Then I would say make sure that you have weaponry, and then know what, like, have some kind of plan of what to do if things really do go downhill and you can't, I mean, here's the thing is we don't really know what is going to happen in a scenario like that. However, I would say that just from looking at history, that it really is evident that things don't really happen. Like things do happen overnight, yes, but most of the time it's happening incrementally, and like kind of what we just went through. There's just going to be big events, and we have to find a way to adjust to those. We have to find a way to deal with the ignorance of the people who don't want to know the truth or what's really going on. And I think that's why it's so important that we teach people how to learn, get back to the liberal arts, of a free man, because if we don't do that, it just seems like we're in a perpetual cycle. I mean, I see all these people who are preparing, they got their bunkers prepared, and they have their all their storable foods, and I think that's important. I would never say that there's anything wrong with that, but I think that if the knowledge isn't getting out to the people, we have this technology, we have the ability to get our voice out there, and we do have the ability to reach many people. And if we're not doing that, then this bunker, storable foods, even weaponry is not really it doesn't mean that it means nothing, but it just means that it's not as important for the future children, for the future us. So
Leslie, you want to add something?
Sure. I think that there's a psychological preparation, aspect to this, and it's about, because we're all going to be tested in one way or another, and how we're tested is going to vary depending on our own individual makeup and what our experiences are and our traumas and our learning lessons that we've gone through. So there's really an important aspect here of self-knowledge and the ability to self-reflect and to know ourselves, so that we'll know our triggers, and that when we know our triggers and we know ourselves well, then we can catch if we're being swayed into the direction of some aspect of mind control, if fear is guiding us, or whatever, anger, what other emotion. So there's really some skills to learn about self-management, self-regulation, around, like Nate said, communication and getting along with people, because we're going to need to work together, to counteract the energies of the powers that shouldn't be. And I think that there's a perseverance factor here, that this is preparing for the long haul, and that means preparing our bodies to withstand difficult circumstances, to be able to handle, to be calm under pressure, right, to persevere under stress, we're going to be possibly, what we're seeing already, we're seeing people get sick. We're seeing people die prematurely. I've known at least 2 people who have died unexpectedly very young. And I was thinking about this idea of mental preparation. Just recently, I had my own mini I can't say mini traumas, I don't know, witnessing death. Okay, I witnessed a human young person dead on the ground after being hit by a car. 2 days later, I witnessed a cat being I hit a cat. I ran over a cat that was under my tire. It was horrible. And I have these images in my mind that are like intrusive images, right? Coming into my mind that I was not prepared for. So I've had to work with myself, right? My own mind, and experiencing what it's like to see death and to be a participant in something that's really, to me, very tragic and just tragic. And I was like, wow, I'm not really feeling very prepared to see death. I'm not feeling like I'm well prepared to deal with injuries even. I'm a psychology person. I can deal with, mental illness. I can deal with people decompensating, and a lot other people don't know how to deal with that. Right. So we all have our strengths and our weaknesses. And I think that part of this is becoming well-rounded and holistic in our preparation, both in the practical ways and in the psychological ways and in the spiritual and intellectual ways, to understand, to be ready for what we don't really know is going to happen. Right.
Sure. James, you want to have something? I want to hear your point that we're talking earlier.
Okay. To begin, I will say that what we do with our platforms on a regular basis, with the great work in trying to help people learn about morality and natural law, is the spiritual preparation for the downfall
Absolutely.
of a ruling class that seeks to control us. Okay, that is the spiritual preparation for this. How do we conduct ourselves? How do we navigate through the universe and behave accordingly, so we're not harming others and not taking on karmic debt, in a sense? So that's a spiritual preparation for what I see as an inevitable future for our species. Might not happen in my time or my children's time, but it is an inevitable future. What is really going on right now is a bifurcation of society, and we are, in fact, if anyone doesn't know what that word means, it's basically just a splitting up, two factions or more of society, and we are experiencing that now. It's been a long warm up to this grand show that we're seeing unfold before us. There has been a lot of predictive programming through the media and movies, television, and whatnot, to try to get people to behave a certain way based on these fictional outcomes that they see. And they put that in the movies, and they want you to act a certain way according to that. Like, watch The Walking Dead, and they're like, "Oh, this is what happens." That's not what happens. That's not what I
It's
see
more gonna
happening.
be like 28 days.
Sure. I mean, we're talking, I mean, it's not gonna be zombies. The zombies, that's a whole allegory in itself. I'm talking about just like the whole downfall of society type of thing. It's not. It may not happen that way. However, if it does, there are things to uh, physically prepare for, in the sense of like there, in case the grid goes down, for instance. And even if it's not about the grid going down, there's what I was saying earlier was that there's two possibilities, and there's also kind of like an overlap. So we have the possibility of like a complete collapse, and I'm like kind of black pilled at the moment, so I'm kind of rooting for the collapse. But anyways, that's just me personally. But we have that is a real possibility, that it could be a complete collapse, and one day you wake up and the world is on fire. And then there's also the other possibility, which is what we really want, which is the waking up of people, and that they are one day going to that the one day that everyone will be able to, or whoever's left will be able to learn morality and act accordingly within within the boundaries of the laws of nature, and try their best not to initiate harm onto other sentient beings. That is also a real possibility. It's the long game, which I'm willing to play, but there is overlap. It creates there's a yin and yang kind of outlook there for me personally, and with both scenarios, there's an overlap. So what I referred to it as earlier was a Venn diagram of survival. And that either which way, you're going to have certain things that happen in both pockets, but then there's going to be a lot of overlap. And what you're going to need to do is, and this is where the overlap happens. Okay, so collapsitarian or peaceful outcome. Either which way, here's the overlap. You're going to need to know how to have clean water. You're going to need to know how to grow your own food. You're going to need to know how to do first aid upon yourself and upon others. That is, up into including setting a broken bone, stitching a wound, keeping a wound clean, stopping bleeding, how to set a tourniquet, how to do all of these things. So this is about survival. It's just general survival here. Those in order are probably the most important things. In order: clean water, food, and first aid. And then after that, you have a natural self-defense built in. Okay, it's called your ego. It's called your reptile brain. It's going to tell you whether you're going to fucking run away or you're going to stand and fight. Your first and foremost ability to defend yourself from any situation is to find a way to run away. That is a type of self-defense. And then there's also speech, trying to talk your way out of stuff, or trying to change somebody's mind through good speech, because that's a different type of self-defense. But I'm talking about physical body self-defense. One of the best, and I'm not kidding here, you don't need a weapon to run away. You have legs. If you're not crippled, you can run away. That is a form of self-defense. I have to repeat that because a lot of people want to go, no, I'm going to stand and fight. You say that until you're met with that, and then you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing, and you think you're some big tough guy when you're not. But then after all of that, of course, you want to, like Nate was saying, be familiar with weapons and being able to defend yourself that way as well. And for all of you, people out there that are listening to this, and you're on the you're on the certain vegan diet or vegetarian diet, you're gonna find out pretty damn quick that it's not sustainable without some sort of structure in place. Whether are you growing your own food? Do you have a sustainable farm that you're growing food on? If not, you're going to be in dire straits pretty quickly. So you're going to need to know how to hunt, and you're going to need to know how to trap. You're going to need to know how to do these things, because your survival mechanisms, your instinctual survival mechanisms will kick in. You do not have a choice in this. It's just your instincts. You cannot shut this off. It's a part of your makeup as a human being. So good luck shutting that off. And if you find a way to shut that off, you're going to die. So make peace with that and figure it out. Keeping calm under pressure, like Leslie was saying, is extremely important. It's probably the umbrella that everything else that I just said sits under. So keeping calm is probably that umbrella. You definitely want to be able to mentally prepare yourself for these types of situations, and to make sure that you're good to go. Learning how to store food once it's been grown and plucked out of the ground is extremely important as well. I suggest that you get some books on canning. I suggest that you get some books on food storage, and how to avoid foodborne illnesses, and how to do that. Become familiar with the Serve Safe food guidelines. I'm familiar with that. I was a chef for just about a decade. So when it comes to actually having a pantry as your food on a shelf stacked up in the proper order so that it's not cross-contaminating from one type of food to another. How do you know the signs of botulism? How do you know how to take care of that when that happens? How do you know the signs of salmonella? How do you know what to stop that from happening? Like, these things happen and you need to know how to do it. So if you're preparing for either outcome, you know, and this bifurcation of society that is happening right now, we might even end up with one side of a country still being in statism, with the other side of the country being more libertarian or minarchist or even anarchist. You know, like, who knows? But we're heading in that direction where there could be some kind of divorce in the United States, at least. Hopefully peaceful, but there's a lot of people out there that say they want freedom, but they don't understand what it really comes with. And a lot of what I just said is included. I really want to make sure that people out there know how serious this is, and that these are things that are a part of the great work that are severely overlooked a lot of the times. That might just be my opinion, but I don't really hear a lot of people stressing um, actually being able to survive in a world where there is no government, like where you are in fact on your own, where you could be on your own. It's nice to think that you could walk out your front door and that there's a bunch of neighbors around you that all like you and all want to take care of each other and everything, but that's not always, it's not, that's not going to happen in all cases. So you need to be able to do these things for yourself. I suggest getting things like they sell first aid kits on Amazon. I suggest getting that. They just get as much literature as you can while you still can get it. I suggest hard copies of books. Get a PDF if that's your only choice. Go to pdfdrive.com and get that. You can go there. There's a bunch of free PDFs you can download from there. And LibGen, Library Genesis. You can Google that and it'll show up. I forget the exact URL for that, but you can get a bunch of free PDFs from there, EPUBs and everything like that. So if worst case, keep it digital. You can always print out a PDF as well, but I mean, these things are serious topics. So you can find, I think that it's apropos to include a link to my Discord server here in the show notes at some point, because on my Discord server, I have a channel that includes a lot of PDF documents that you could download and just peruse through. And I, let's see here. How do I exit this full screen? There we go. And just to give you an idea of what we're talking about here, everyone can see this. I hope. Can people see this, Fred? Okay. All right. Sweet. And let me just go back to that. So this is just one of my folders that I have. And these are all PDFs about how to survive. And then this is just my PDFs. I have a library upstairs in my house where I have stacks of books that are old military field manuals for first aid, how to hunt, how to trap, how to basically, live off the land. And having the books is great, but you also need to be able to like do those things as well. And so anywho, that is, I think, the end of my rant.
That's awesome.
Yes, thank you for the information. If you can type it to me or send it to me via private chat, so I can send it on the YouTube channel. Would be great.
Yeah, but the Discord, like a Discord server.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, I'll do that.
So there's something that we didn't touch, and that's children and birthing.
No, you don't want to touch children. Sorry, that was a very bad joke.
So I think this is one of the crucial thing there. And I would like to bring up Jin, because she had first-hand experience on that. So just talk to me, just talk to us about birthing into like natural birthing.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's really important. And I wanted to say that I think I was psychologically preparing myself for this, just by saying no to authority. And my thing has always been kids. I have 6 kids, and progressively throughout all of my births, I've grown and grown and grown mentally and spiritually and even physically. And so um having no fear surrounding birth was such a huge thing for me. When I told people in my friends like that I'm gonna do an unassisted birth, and they were like, oh well, yeah, well, you're gonna die, right? And I'm like, okay, maybe. But I had found so many women that had done this like 5, 6, 7 times, and I knew inside of myself, from because I had come to know morality and know that a wrong was causing harm to another sentient being, and I had given birth in a hospital, and I had said no to doctors, and I had gone through the psychological process of like it's trauma, really, like, because they come in over and over and over again, and they just pressure you and pressure you. And so I knew that this was really the only choice for me. And when I did it, I felt I almost feel like it's like an initiation for women, almost like to give birth on your own is the most empowering thing. Like you did it on your own. You overcame this fear. Women are programmed with fear from the very beginning. I mean, the Bible says, like, your women will give birth in pain for millennia, and and all this kind of stuff, and they have all these TV shows, and you're gonna die. And when I had this experience, and I met with other women that had done this before, it was just like it's overcoming that fear and like stepping into that like light and trusting yourself and your baby and your body. And I do think it would be cool, like, for I imagine like communities forming, and like other, because I honestly, like, I couldn't have done it without the women that I never met except for on Facebook, and their stories and their empowerment. And so I do envision like a community of women that have done this before and are there to help you, but they're not in fear, because we all know that birth is a natural process, if that makes sense. Yeah. I also wanted to add to James's thing, if that's okay. Foraging is so important. I think, because if you can't grow a garden, or you don't want to hunt animals, there's so much natural food out in the world. So I just wanted to add that too.
I was wondering if I haven't been here the whole time. I've been listening the whole time, but I haven't been here because we have 4
Rob.
kids. And hey, how's it going, Fred?
Doing
So I
great.
just want to comment. Good. I wanted to comment on a couple things. Like, people were talking about security is illusion, and we personally experienced that. Meaning, our house burnt down, and I'm only bringing that up because someone said security is an illusion, and we personally experienced that. Meaning, we were actually preppers. I had a year of supplies of toilet paper and toothbrushes and anything that you could think of that you need. We spent $30,000 in 3 months on everything we needed for a year, and then it all burnt down 3 months later. And so security is definitely an illusion. So, and then I just know how that feels. Yeah, like the materialistic world, right? The physical world. And also, you have to be mentally, physically, and spiritually prepared for what's coming, because people actually don't talk about that. So, we have, weapons, I'm going to say, or arms, right? And you have to be prepared for what's coming, not just emotionally, not just physically, but spiritually. You have to be prepared for anything that's about to come. And we were physically prepared, but then we realized that when it burned down, that's an illusion. But you have to be like spiritually and mentally prepared. So, you just gotta imagine what's gonna happen, what could happen, and be prepared, and not be scared, and not in fear, right? Because that's all I wanted to add. Because everyone's already said everything else. So
So
good.
I want to add about foraging, and I want to put an accent on that because I think here where I live, there's plenty of food in the forest. I don't have to kill anything for me and for my family to eat. But well, winter, winter are hard, and this is where I think the meat is sometimes is required. Depends on what context of you live in. Essentially, what I want to bring is uh, I'm vegetarian because I believe that animals are my equal. I consider the animals my brothers and sisters. So essentially, I would not, in the context I live now, I would not eat my brothers and my sisters, and I would fight, and I would do anything to avoid harming sentient beings. It's not because if you can, like, if you're smart enough, like you were talking about, James, about canning and things like that, so I can go in the forest and then foraging food and then making essence from it. I can make oils from them, I can eat them, I can heal myself with it. So this is the one part. Yes, there's a possibility that you're gonna have probably to kill to survive. It's not impossible. But here where I live, there's abundance of food everywhere. You're going in the forest, if you know your plants, if you know where you're going, know what to not eat, you're gonna thrive, still to thrive and eat every day. And foraging, the plants are, you don't have to eat a lot to feel full with it. You have the roots you can eat. Well, just Leslie is gone. I didn't calculate the time, so thank you, Leslie, for being there. Appreciate it, sister. And oh, I had this friend that he gave me a course into foraging with the food that he had on the plants that he had behind his house, and it was impressive. All we can eat, all we can cook and transform into medications and things like that. So there's plenty of things. The only thing is, do you know them? And I'm not like very educated in this, but I know some that I can eat. So this is all about knowledge, and the giving putting your time where you really need to put it on. I just wanted to bring that. So I'm gonna put up this comment: rice, grains, beans, dry goods, mushroom are abundant in the forest too. So there's plenty of
Yep.
vegetation that we can eat.
For sure. You definitely want to be able to know nature when you're in it, to be able to navigate your way through and avoid the harmful things like the poison oaks and the poison ivies and stuff like that, and not wipe your butt with poison ivy would be nice. Just to put something, make a light of this. But yeah, I mean, that is the food of the forest is really good, especially mushrooms. They can pack a lot of nutrients in mushrooms, and like you were saying, Fred, with roots and stuff like that, a lot of vitamins and minerals from these plants, and it's like it grows itself. But I mean, when it really comes down to it, you want to be able to grow your own food as well. I really appreciate you bringing that point up, Jen, right? About foraging. That's a very great point to make. It's an extremely important skill to have as well. Something I wish I were better at. I know where the wild blueberries are. I know a couple of other plants you can make medicine out of. You know what I mean? Like that's so. Yeah. At the end of the day, like as much physical literature as you can get on any of these things as possible. You have to think, like, at the end of it all, you have to think, like, what am I going to do without the internet? How many of us here can really remember what life was really like as an adult before the internet? Like, can you really? I'm honestly asking, can any of us here really remember that? I know I can't. I was a child when the internet came out. The information has been at my fingertips for 2/3 of my life. So I'm saying physical, hard books, like that's where it comes in. That's why, like, you want the real, you want like the real stuff, like some Shakespeare and, some mythology stuff, just like hanging around. But more importantly for survival, because like those books are going to be like what I start my fires with to like stay warm, So, yeah, about like the whole, maybe having to kill an animal. I mean, I still maintain that at some point in time, you might get desperate enough to have to do it, and you need to know what you're doing with it when you do, and it comes down to survival, and you're going to go, well, I'm going to survive. I'm going to do what it takes. And I really know some people out there listening to this might have a problem with that, but I maintain that is something that a lot of people are going to be faced with, and they're going to make choices to survive. And when you make that choice, you don't want it to go to waste. You don't want any of that for that to go to waste. And what happens when, you go foraging in the forest and the deer keep eating the food that you need to forage? What are you going to do with that deer? You go find someplace else? I mean, I know there's a bunch of back doors and loopholes around all of this stuff, people, but I mean, we got to get real about this from time to time. It
For
sucks.
sure.
You just got to be
Yeah,
real
real
about it. I really commend you, Jen, about the natural birth. That's friggin' awesome. And she goes, but anyways, yeah, I mean, I really want to influence people to have as much physical literature on any of this as possible, and then read it. Don't just have it. You got to read it and like start learning about it. And have
Yeah,
equipment.
James, I'm hella guilty on that.
Have
I got like
equipment.
1,000 books, yo, and
learn how to start a fire in the rain.
exactly right. And honestly, like we could kind of, especially for survival, bug out bag type of things, like just print out a couple, PDF, paper, just paper. We don't have to have a hardback, softback, whatever. Just some, like really narrowed down cookie cutter type of cliff note type of things. Obviously, get into the nitty gritty of some details on some important stuff, like some diagrams of what you're saying, like how to actually like skin a animal after I don't know how to do that. I'm fucking vegan, but I totally agree with what you're saying. I'm not triggered by that shit at all. I was gonna say exactly what you were saying, like, and that's all goes back to the good old first principle, cosmic, natural, universal, whatever, like mentalism. It's all about getting into the mind state, understanding all different types of mind states of what the hell could be in the future. We're not trying to project or any kind of fear-based situation. And Rob said it really good. It's like mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually prepared. I mean, those are very important things to really have down at the foundation, to make sure that that your shit is like legit within yourself, and then build up from what you need, as far as the shitty situation calls for toilet paper, yeah, but god damn it, like the shit ain't hit the fan yet and people are panicking the fuck out. And
Yeah.
if people haven't done their shadow work, people don't understand like how they are projecting out their fears and their insecurities and all that stuff. So that's kind of like the mental and emotional preparation. There's a correspondence to that. And in regards to that lost principle of care, the generative principle, what they're actually generating as far as like what they're actually like aligned to and what they're focusing on in regards to the media and what they're feeding you and all that bullshit, right? And a couple of people talked about the movies and all this stuff, and someone mentioned in the comments, everyone knows predictive programming, but I wanted to popularize more projective programming, because people know what the fuck they're it's a program, kind of like this Armageddon software, or like the apocalyptics apocalyptic programming bullshit since antiquity. They want to shroud the actual true definition of the apocalyptine, of the unveiling of what the fuck has been hidden since those fucking times, right? But no, they're kind of saying like apocalypse, Armageddon, same shit, underworld shit. No, that's like the end of your motherfucking bullshit ass fucking ignorance that we've been enduring for the past 26,000 fucking years in this hell cycle, where it's like it's people eating fucking people in a sense. It's like this energetic vampirism. If you understand shadow work, y'all know what the fuck I'm talking about, right? And that's that narcissistic, psychopathic, sociopathic shit. And we talked about this, James, in a couple podcasts, especially you, in regards to having the psychopath. What are we really prepared for, people? We have guns and ammunition and weapons and shit. Are you able to fucking use that? Are you able to cast your emotional blockages and mental blockages and shit aside and realize that you're a divine fucking being? And if someone's fucking trying to wreck your shit, you have the cosmic authority to put that motherfucker down. And I say motherfucker with compassion and care, because it's just someone that is reacting, projecting, whatever. They are fucking with the mother, the divine essence of care and compassion. They broke that fucking line. They broke natural law. We have the right to defend our shit, protect your house, all that stuff. So fucking act like you own your shit, right?
Yep.
That's that preparation.
Absolutely.
And always tune into your favorite family program called the LIBERcast.
Bam! You know what I mean? So yeah, just like I wanted to go back to this whole movie shit, because they have a Rolodex of all types of movies that they're trying to program us with, and they have a lot of shitty low level floor-eyed Nate type of fucking base level consciousness dialogue, and just like how these writers script this shit. And like it's so typical. You see the patterns of your typical dystopian Planet of the Apes or whatever the hell. The leaders they have their egoic or their own agendas and all this stuff, and they don't actually care about the greater good, even though the greater good is such a fucking program term these days, because the Build Back Better, 666, small dick, lowercase triple B, you know what I mean? But people really need to see through that and kind of get out of that suction cup of what the hell the media is feeding you. Again, like I'm talking about the mass media stuff. And you take it into the horror flicks. Of course, we're in the season of soon to be the satanic Halloween and all this stuff, and everyone's all these TV channels have every night a new Halloween scary movie and stuff, and it's just like it's building up this shit. And even since the dawning of the motherfucking Rona, COVID-19, or flip it around, you got Divock AI, right? But people have been in like in that reptilian part of the brain in kind of like this survival mode, because they keep hitting us with different things, and things have already been so fucking polarized beforehand with the politics and everything with Donald Trump and all that stuff. And like with the leftists completely going like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So
People are afraid. That's what
yeah,
puts you in that mode of. That's what puts you into the R complex, into the ego, is fear and the lack of understanding of exactly what's going on around you. You know, ignorance, really, what it what it really comes down to. You know, and people are gonna act up when that kind of stuff comes about. You know, and that's where they want you, because if you're afraid and you're doing all this crazy stuff, then you're like creating the dependency that they feed off of, you know, in a sense. I mean, not in a sense, like that's for real. That's what's going on, you know, and it's been building up a long time. We talked about it a few weeks ago about like the Patriot Act and stuff like that, like in this country, like it's been building up a long time. It's the frog in the boiling water, you know, analogy, like through and through. And a lot of people with coronavirus, they're like, "Oh my God, I didn't realize it got so bad so quick." It's like, no, it's actually been getting pretty bad for a long time. It's been like this for a long time. Come to find out, you know, you start looking back, you're like, no, yeah, pieces do fit together. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it is pretty bad, and it's been bad for a long time, and not just like, oh, like a couple decades. No, like talk. Let's say, you know, 150 years, maybe more, maybe since the ratification of the Constitution, maybe even longer than that. Human history is a very long and vast subject, and there's been a lot of suffering through it. So yeah, I mean, is this the you know, is this the crest of the wave? Who knows? They're talking about fucking nuclear war in the news. Like, if you want to if you want to scare some people, you could start talking about that. You know, like it's the playbook. So the water boy, okay, and Coach, what's his name, Coach Klein or whatever, has the playbook, and he's always got the playbook, and he's had the same, or no, the other coach, the dickhead coach, has the playbook. He's been running the same plays for like, you know, decades, and the plays, they always work. And it's like, that's exactly what these people have. They have a fucking playbook, and they, you know, it looks like this, and they just go through it, and they're like, oh yeah, we can roll. There's been enough time's gone by. We can roll that one out again. People have forgotten about that. We can do that again. You know, it's like, my best friend Sean, he likens it to an arrow in a quiver. You know, they take the arrow out and they can fire it, and then they can go get the arrow. They have it there, and they can take it out whenever they need to. Or like a deck of cards. They start dealing the cards out on the table, and you're like, oh, I've seen this hand before. I know what they can get away with that. I know that. Oh, I know that card. I know what that card's going to do. You know what I mean? Oh, blackjack, you know, royal flush. Get it? Queen's dead. Fuck her. Yeah, flush the royals is what I say, and then, you know, we might have a better world. Anyways, that's all I gotta say about that. That's all I gotta say about that.
This part there, I want to ask Nate, what would be the first thing that we should do to correct the path that the Western civilization took?
To correct it?
Yeah.
I mean, it just kind of goes back to what I said earlier. It's just teaching people how to learn. We live in a world where people do not know how to learn. They do not know how to think. And that is I'm not saying like that isn't totally incorporated or even a little bit incorporated into Western thinking. But there's definitely in the Western world, you know, you have to have, like, we've forgot about the East, you know, because I look at the West and the East in correspondence to our brain. So left brain to the west, right brain to the east. And if we are, not balancing ourselves within, learning how to learn with both hemispheres of the brain, where we can, cause the alchemical wedding, the balance, then we're really staying imbalanced. That's why the West has become imbalanced, because we've gone too far west. We've literally wested. In Freemasonry, that means that you have gone into darkness. You've gone into total materialism. And, that's really what the problem is that we're too far in materialism. We have to get back to spiritualism.
Yep.
And, because the principle of gravitation is materialism. And then, you look at spiritualism is the principle of levitation, right? So we have to levitate. We have to levitate by taking in the knowledge and bringing ourselves back up into our mind. We're too in the physical. But I really wanted to touch on a few things that you guys have said that are very adult, that I've been hearing, and I really, really appreciate it, is that you, in preparation, you are willing to take another life in order to survive if things get really bad. And I really want to go a little deeper on this, because I think it's such an important topic that I have not been able to get to because of the way that I have had this tapestry for the cubbyhole and for outcasting. But I think right now, what you're saying is so vital just to even think about it, because, we get it. Okay, I've been plant-based for 9+ years. Okay. And I had to go through this place in my heart to recognize, okay, what I don't want to do is I don't want to attack anybody who is trying to fight for human freedom. If they want to eat meat, so be it, right? That was something I had to get over, and I know probably you guys have had to get over this, but because really the bigger issue is human freedom. Once we can end human freedom, then we can start to, worry more about the animals. But that doesn't mean don't worry about them now, because they are sentient beings. They do need our help in time of war and after, if that ever happens, which, we got to be optimistic and hope that can happen. And I'm trying really hard to be optimistic, and I do kind of see it happening, but maybe not in this lifetime, but I'm trying really hard to make it happen. But more importantly, is to recognize where we're at geographically or geologically in the world. Because if we are in a place that has lots of sunshine and lots of greenery, well, then we are in a place where we don't need to survive by, eating, supporting animals to, be put down for our consumption, right? But if you are in a certain part of the world where like I live in Boise, Idaho, so therefore I am, if things hit the fan, there's very few crops. Crops are very frozen over the winter. So preparation is definitely in my, that is definitely something that I do. I do prepare with food for the winter, just in case something happens. I also wanted to say, what I said earlier was kind of like an elevator pitch of what James said, and I really, really appreciated that James like actually went off and explained all of that very well. I think that's all of that stuff is so vital and so important. But I have, in the past 5 years of not eating animals, I have took it upon myself to prepare myself with information, with knowledge of how to take the life of a deer or a turkey, or some kind of animal that I know that I can that is in my area, that is in my where in my surrounding area, where I can actually perform that act in order to survive. I look at animals. I look at, what Fred said. It's like, I feel the same way, like I don't look at them as like my brother and sister human wise, but I definitely look at them like I am trying my hardest to protect life. I love life. I appreciate life. And, but at the same time, I would assume intelligently that animals know how to understand at a level where, like, we might not ever understand this, but I look at them as like they're there in case we need to survive for the stewardship of the earth. They will come to our aid. I'm not saying they like magically give their life for us to survive, but I will say that for the greater good, meaning like for the freedom of more animals, the human being has to, as a collective species, has to end slavery, has to end, mental slavery, spiritual slavery, physical slavery, before we can really let that, be even come to, before we can even come to understand how to free these animals collectively. But this is why this knowledge, to take in this knowledge of all this type of information, is so beneficial, because we do need to know how to do these things. Even if our heart is in the right place, we do need to know how to survive, to preserve information that will, help the animals in the long run. Because, it is kind of a, there's a short-term game and there's a long-term game. And that's just kind of the way life is. And, but it's a hard thing to like consider, because it's like, yeah, I don't want to be the one who, this would actually be a big surprise to a lot of people who know me, but we have to remember that because we have moved from the equator, human beings have, found a way to, have clothes and fire and shelter, to move away from the equator, because that's where we pretty much originated from, was the equator. If we go far enough back into history, we will see that that's where we came from. And because of that, we're not in our environment, we're not in our typical environment. And so we have evolved, we have moved into places where sometimes it's not easy to get the foods that we need in order to survive. And as a human being, it is this is a tough conversation, because people get very emotional about this, but I really appreciate you guys being adults about it. I see a lot of growth in that, and it's not an easy decision, but I think that all the other things that you're talking about storing foods and preparing with the foods, the knowledge, and the weaponry and all this stuff is so vital, and especially while we are seeing this empire just, go down in flames. But I also don't want to be negative about it and say that, like we should just wait for it to be restarted. I think there is a lot of things we can save. I think that if we really try hard enough, there's a lot of things we can salvage, and we should strive for that. I wouldn't say that waiting for it to, burn down all the way to the ground is the best idea, but I think that, to stand by and wait on it, you might be waiting till the end of your life. But I just want to say, like I said, everything that you guys have said so far, I really, really appreciate it. And I think it's, this is the conversation. I mean, if we're going to talk about preparing, these are the real things that we definitely have to touch on.
Something that that just brought to mind, what you just said, Nate, brought to mind was the whole idea of playing to win. Now, we've been hearing a lot lately. Mark Passio has kind of made the term a little bit more popular than it's been, in the past. But playing to win, right, instead of playing to lose. No, don't be so doom and gloom about everything. A lot of what I've been talking about this evening, in fact, is playing to win. If you learn how to do the first aid, if you learn how to grow your own food and take care of yourself, you are removing yourself from the dependency structure that they have put into place, that they rely on in order to make their claim of authority, stand among the people, because what the people cannot do for themselves, this government claims to be able to do for them. And that's kind of their whole shtick. That's kind of what their selling point. Like, let us do for you what you cannot do for yourself. Let's provide for you what you cannot provide for yourself. So it's about preparing to lose, but sure, like playing to win at the same time, because the more you can take care of yourself, then the you lessen the claim that they have. You know what I'm trying to say? There might be a better way to say it, but I think that I did pretty well there.
Good.
Oh yeah, James. And Nate, I really appreciate what you said, and I concur with a lot. And go into like just a little bit of detail, like knowing your geography and your local areas. I mean, just like simple things like understanding where fresh streams of water could be, water sources. I mean, you take it back to ancient times, I'm sure you guys have been to Europe before. I lived there for 13 years, and like it's like that in America too, but it's so more evident over there that all these small towns and bigger cities, whatever, they're all centralized around a water source, and it's like the higher you go, like mountain wise, the more pure the source normally, right? Aside from all the chemtrailing and all that stuff. But I wanted to also there was someone that commented like half an hour ago in regards to really preparing your body as well. Like like there's the physical preparation as far as like strength, stability, endurance, like doing like cardio and that kind of stuff, and like being able to walk for 10 hours a day, being on your feet for 15 hours a day type of thing. James, that's cool. You were a cook in the past. This time last year, I was a chef in France, but c'est la vie. But and another thing interesting about my life is that I've gone up until the current dates over 100 days without eating any food in the whole accumulation of my life. I've done a lot of fasting. The Master Lemon Cleanse is what I kind of roll with. It's just lemons and maple syrup, a little dash of cayenne if you got it. Obviously that helps, but I've trained my body for 15 years. I I'm a vegan. I don't fuck around with any supplements, even like vitamin B12, B17, whatever whatever. It's like, I don't know. I got my juice. I let it loose, and I eat like maybe 2 meals a day. Not even like I can tap into a frequency where I just don't fucking eat all that frequently, and that's just how I've been, and preparing for that kind of stuff, and for the past 2-3 years since the dawning of the Rona, understanding like, oh shit, like there's some shit that hit the fan, and I understand why people ran for the fucking toilet paper and all that stuff, but Fred, I know you got some things to say, man, so I'll pass it on to you, brother.
So I want to say that I enjoyed this conversation, and this is the kind of talk that I want into this show. This is the kind of thing that for vegans or non-vegans, and I think James, I agree completely with him. Until you're there, until you're in this situation, you're not you're not you're not gonna know what reaction you're gonna have.
Yeah, Fred, can I just say something real quick? Like, it should have been a
Sure.
caveat, in the beginning, because, we introduced ourselves and this and that. It's like, we've been doing a lot of great things and planting many conscious seeds into whatever type of ground, fertile soils of whatever minds that might come across our works and all that stuff. And it's majorly to avoid all this type of scenario, type of shit, right? It's out of our control, but, we've tried to, put our voices out there to, we not want this to happen. We have a lot of compassion and care in our hearts. We don't want to fucking kill and harm anyone. We live by natural law. We live by conscious codes. You know what I mean? So, yeah, we talk about death and this and that, having a psychopath, but those are just tools within the psychological conscious construct that we can draw from in case we fucking need to fucking go there, which we do not want to. Like, this is part of the great work of thwarting all that fucking negativity bullshit that is in the trajectory, and we're trying to get that shit the fuck out of here. All right, Fred, bring it back, brother.
So yeah, thank you for that, Derek.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Your speech are always clear, and I think what I wanted to say, it's these are principles, and principles shouldn't be relative to the context on where you're living. And I just want to add, because I used to have this hardcore conversation about meat eating, and I've been an activist for for veganism for quite some time. But I always kept in mind that truth is not always what we want to hear. And there's some things that we will need to sacrifice to get a better a better understanding and a better life for these things. And being a great worker it's to stop to lying to ourselves. And I want to talk because there's some vegans that are living in the big cities. Okay, you're not gonna find any vegan burger into the woods. You're not gonna find tempeh already all made up. This is one of the things that there's a lot of processed food there, and there's a lot of things that they're not even compliments. They're straight up garbage. And that's the same thing with meat. Let's talk about this, because this thing is very important. We talk about veganism is about reducing harm. Okay, so if we, for example, falling into a chaos made from not having the government anymore. First, the butchery, the ritual mass genocide of animals would stop. It would crumble under its own weight. It's not sustainable, and people would have to go back in the woods and hunt for something that is wild.
Mm-hmm.
Turkeys and boars and deers and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
People are not gonna eat lions and wolves. Well, some of them will, you know. I know one of my friend is eating everything. He ate everything in his life. But this is an important point, and the massacre would be almost put to rest. The killing would go lower and lower and lower, and people would fucking have to struggle to have their meat. Now they're gonna deserve it. That's the thing. Now we have these sausages and patties that are already made. You didn't kill them. You didn't like cut the meat. You didn't put it in the grinder, But there's a lot of people who would have a fucking reality check there.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I
No.
may interject,
Sure.
there's a lot of there's a lot of people that eat meat that if they had to kill the animal themselves, they
sure.
wouldn't eat meat anymore.
Absolutely.
Plain and simple. I eat meat. I'm not a vegan. I have an omnivore diet. I'm not gonna let anyone think anything else. So just so you know,
It's not a club, man.
That's me.
You don't have to
we're
justify
not in a
yourself.
cult.
It's okay.
No. I just didn't want to give the illusion, like I didn't want to like give any sort of illusion that like I'm saying anything. I just wanted to be clear and transparent. I'm not a part of any club. I am not a conformist. That's why I fit in so well. Isn't that weird?
I think we need to lock arms with each other, knowing that we're slaves, and no matter what food is on our plate, that is what matters most. We have to, like, so many of these vegans, and I understand we have our heartstrings pulling, we care about these animals, but at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is that if you're not locking arms with your fellow brother and sister who eat meat as well, to end slavery, then you're not doing the right thing.
Absolutely.
And that's where we have to really let go of this, even because it does become this like cult-like ego, right? And I understand. I even empathize with people who do care about animals. I get it. I understand. But if we can't get past that barrier of that emotion that's blocking us from seeing the real picture, which is slavery, human slavery, it's not going to get us closer to the goal. And it's a tricky thing because people are so invested into that, and it becomes this virtue signal, right? Even though it's a virtue signal that I don't think it's a bad virtue signal necessarily, but it's a virtue signal that creates division. It creates division, and I see so many people who are going in the right direction because they do want to see human slavery end, and then they get attacked because they're eating meat, and it's kind of counterintuitive in a way. I mean, I can see the hypocrisy, right? But at the same time, it's like that's not what matters. What matters is do we really care about the same goal? Do we really want to see each other free? You know, I've even heard people who eat meat who say like they're never going to stop eating meat, say that they are against factory farming, and that's a big thing to say for someone who eats meat, but also at the same time wanting to end slavery, human slavery, and I can't get in between that. You know, I can't argue with that. I think that's more commendable, and you know, we'll as we evolve and as we get out of these shackles, then we can start, then, people who have done so much work, who have really voiced their, what they know to end this enslavement. They're going to do what they're going to do. And see, it's getting, being a voice for the voiceless. I completely get it. And I think that is, that's commendable, but also it's don't let it become a cult. Don't let it become a religion. Don't let it become your everyday thinking. I know so many vegans that are still like, that's all they think about. They only think about the animals, but they don't think about like the fact that the reason the animals are enslaved and being slaughtered is because we are enslaved.
Yep.
You know, and
Law
that's
correspondence.
yeah, and
Bingo.
so yeah, and but it is it's a tough. This is a tricky conversation, and
Yeah.
It's so hard to navigate if we're not really looking at the whole picture. I think that we do the best we can. We work with what we got, and cause and support is the less amount of harm that we can, because who knows if we'll ever get to that that place. I mean, I'm hoping that we'll get to that place where we're not enslaved anymore, collectively, but it's you do the best that you can to end that. And I completely, I mean, I have meat eating friends and family, and I love them just the same, especially the ones that are really trying to do the right thing and end this enslavement that we all find ourselves in.
Fuck yeah, Nate, real quick. I mean, I want to know your opinion, because I mean, like, I don't know if you guys have noticed over the past couple of years, there's like either ex-vegan or not, and like vegan, schmegan, whatever the hell, you know what I mean. And they're like talking shit on veganism, and like there's this whole campaign of, yeah, of course we understand, like, the whole vegan movement was hijacked and whatever the fuck, and it's kind of coalescing with this whole Agenda 2030, eat your fucking bugs, even though that's not even fucking vegan, right? But apparently it's vegetarian, I guess, but there's so many loopholes and logical fallacies to throw a motherfucking stick or a whole branch or a goddamn tree at, right? But there's like some prominent folks that are actually like like it's like their job to like speak out against like vegans, like we are out of these fucking dialectics. This is a great conversation, and no one's like triggered and this and that. We speak from conviction and logic and that good, you know what I mean? Consciousness, consciere, what?
Oh, I just said for
Yeah.
sure. I was agreeing.
Yeah, and it's like before I went vegetarian to vegan, I was a flexitarian for like a dozen years, and I just understood that this factory farming bullshit it's fucked up. And like, how many antibiotics are you consuming through the cows that got pumped up with whatever, and bovine and whatever the hell, and then we got Monsatan, who all this shit. So it's like, like I was already just disgusted with the whole meat industry if you just look at it from an objective perspective, and just even like the first veil of follow the money, you know what I mean?
Yep.
But yeah, Nate, I'm just curious, or anyone, like, have you guys noticed, like either ex-vegans or not, just like focusing too much on, just like, oh, the vegans, yeah, whatever, as if like whatever. I don't know.
Let me tell you something.
Tell me.
I've
Tell me.
been on the two sides of the coins.
Haven't we all?
Okay, I can still be vitriolic as hell when
Yeah,
you talk about sentience of the animals and their values.
yeah.
You know, the only thing is like, it's like, don't fucking lie to me. Don't try to fucking tell me that they aren't sentient and they are valuable. They're as valuable as we are because they have a role in our lives. You know, without the farming, let's look at the farming of the animals. There's a chain that it's used there. There's a chain actually. The animals are nourished, and then their um their poop is used for making the plant grows. Okay, so you have two things that works together. We all know if you do a research for 15 minutes, there's no better how do you call that, moss
Fertilizer.
fertilizer. There's no better fertilizer than animal fertilizer, because the ones that are not made from that, they are chemicals and dead animals and things like that. So you have to take in consideration that even if tomorrow we are in total anarchy, people will still eat meat, and people will try to stay vegan until a certain point. We let's not bullshit ourselves with it. You would ask to any vegans what they would do to survive, and you would be surprised of their answers. It's not cognitive dissonance. It's fucking common sense.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have to argue whether the darkness that come from the animal ritual massacre, this genocidal thing, it's bad. It's bad in every way. There's no way I see positive come from that, because they're, first of all, energically, and then you have the the cost of the food that we could eat that we give to the animals. So 80% of the grain and the plant food are for the animals. So imagine we cut that in half or to the quarter. All this food that we're growing into the fields, they would go back to us. We could have we could thrive in minimizing meat intake. You're a great worker, you believe in correspondence, you believe in rhythm, you believe in cause and effect. I can give you bridge for that. I can give you bridges for that. I have a lot of bridges. You know, when I'm talking to great workers, I'm 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 assuming that you fucking understand these principles. So the fact that we are talking in context of surviving. So actually now I'm not surviving. I'm not struggling at all. I still have the choice. I can still make the choice of not consuming meat. But if we need to thrive out of this easy as hell world, and because I only have to go down the street and get whatever I want. You know, I can have like uh, uh, chips and chocolate and things like that. You know, but when you're in survival, you these stores doesn't exist anymore. And we have to be really humble, and we have to be realist, and we have to look at things objectively. Being vegan is a choice. It's not, and for some of them, there's a percentage of this that is dogmatic, like carnism. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. You have people who are getting into. I'm gonna take an example. When my activist time, there were some people who were just to tell how people are disconnected from nature. They were the bacon jokes. You know them. You have already seen them. That's you know what? It's not fucking funny. Even if I ate them, I hate bacon in my life. I know what it tastes, but it's not fucking funny. I'm not fucking laughing. You know, because you know what? Bacon is made from babies. This is how I look things. I look things realistically. I don't want to eat babies. Okay, it's fucking disgusting. But we still have to when you're let's talk about the great work a little bit, because I think this is a good point. Are you ready to do what you need, what it needs to put it out? Because people who are in the great work, where they know about these principles, know that they're taking the charge. Okay, they're doing willingly. So it's not my fucking problem. I'm not. It's not my work is not there. My work is to help people to see what truth are. And this awesome conversation where I have now, it's truth. This is honest truth. And I thank you for that, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I
And I think
appreciate it.
it's a fucking good show we have tonight.
Yeah, it's
Sure.
a
I'm
tough topic to explore, especially
Yep.
within our circles,
Sure,
the people that really deserve to take pride in the work that we do,
Yep.
and quite frankly, the whole dietary restriction of like, vegetarianism or even veganism, that is the correct path to walk, when the whole goal is to lessen the amount of harm that we are initiating to other sentient beings. And if that's the great work under, morality, then yeah, it actually ends up being the correct method of, how you eat. Like, how do you get your sustenance?
Which one would you say it's the better version?
I mean, there's a lot of debate around this. I don't
Yep.
think that the technology, personally, I don't know if the technology exists that allows people to have a completely 100% absolutely healthy, balanced diet off of veganism. I don't know if that technology exists. If we have the food, that supports that, it probably does. And it's it's something I'm not aware of, but yeah, so that's a good question, Fred, and I don't know the answer to that, to be honest.
Nate?
I really what
Oh, I was asking Nate if he had an answer for that.
Can you? Well, I was gonna. Well, go ahead and ask that question one more time, and then. But I was gonna add something else.
So James, you can continue if you want to.
I was going to shed some more light on what Nate was saying about solving the problem of human slavery first. Derek and I last week, our conversation last weekend actually ended up kind of treading down that path as well, where ultimately the conclusion is with a lot of these hot button topics, the things that divide us as the truth community and the freedom community, the freedom movement or whatever, like the truth movement, all these different monikers, is something that like really divides people. Is like they grow so detached from the idea that the whole entire goal is that you're being lied to about something, and it's the same group of people over the entire, the entire battlefield of all these different topics and everything. Every little lie that people like to focus on, all of these lies are being conducted by the same group of people. So why are we like distracted? So, like Nate was saying about like locking arms and creating that phalanx and like trying to, take out the problem of human slavery, and then coming like doubling back. And then once that problem is solved, doing our best to solve other problems that are within our capabilities to do so in the time frame in which that we're doing it. Like that is something that we as a community, as a movement, whatever you want to call it, that we need to like stay focused on and to realign, because there's a lot of psyops out there. There's a lot of nonsense out there. There's a lot of division tactics out there, and it's working, and we need to stop it. Like I feel like I'm like being dad here, like I'm the dad, but it's like, this is the truth. Like these are division tactics. We talked about a playbook earlier in the night. It's the same exact thing from that. These are just strategic, division tactics that they are implementing into the zeitgeist or whatever you want to call it, that and it's working. It's intentional. And the real problem is the problem of slavery, and we can stop that. And we are earthlings. We're not Americans or Canadians or people from France or people from Africa. We're people from Earth, and we're earthlings. Like that movie, like that documentary narrated by Joaquin Phoenix. That is when my heart was pierced with a lot of this emotion to the dietary that people, the lifestyles that people like to live, and it's like, yeah, that's a very striking point to really kind of hear and to like take in, is that no, we're all earthlings. It's like we're on a space station, and we're going through the universe, and we're all on this space station, and while we're here, we all got a job to do, and we can live harmoniously doing those jobs, and that doesn't need to include harm. Now we're fucking the whole thing up, but when you start thinking about it like that, like you start really realizing the boundaries in which we live, and it becomes really clear that harm is not the answer, and that peace is, and there's steps to take toward peace, and we will not be able to move 1 inch so long as we are slaves. So long as this system of slavery exists, there will never be true peace. There will never be true freedom. It just won't exist, and you can't have one without the other. And like I said to Derek last week, just because we're free doesn't mean there's no more problems. There's a lot of problems, but we will not be able to exercise our free will and solve those problems amicably if we are slaves. We won't be able to do it. So there. I hope people hear what I just said, and they really think about it before having an emotional reaction to it. This is where logic and reason has to come in, because we're talking about things that make us feel bad. We're talking about things that, like, yeah, responsibility. As my boy Will Keller likes to say, responsibility, your ability to respond. Think of it that way as well. You know, it's like, you know, some green language, some of the language of the birds, you know, the birds. Yeah, and so it's just, you know, what I was saying about the real problems here, you know, being able to exercise our free will and doing the right thing just because it's the right thing to do, not because you expect some type of reward for doing it. You should just, the reward is that you did the right thing. Woohoo. You know, like, and the reward is that by doing the right thing, learning the difference between right and wrong and doing the right thing, you won't recognize the reward when it comes to you, because that's not how the universe works, but it will come.
Absolutely.
Well said.
Yeah, man, very well said. You know, I think it really comes down to, well, one thing that I think that is so hard for a lot of people who don't do the great work, who don't put the time in to really see with their eye, is appreciation. Appreciation is the one thing, you know, because when you're trying to reconnect with nature, that comes in the form of appreciation, because you are starting to wake up through your, you know, Kundalini awakening, right? And you're starting to see the connection. You're starting to recognize that you're not here to be ruled by others, and you're not here to rule others, right? That's what free means. That's what being free means. And so if we really want that, it's about learning how. I mean, you can't just appreciate something until you've experienced it, for the most part, but learning how to appreciate things is so vital for recognizing the beauty of others, whether that be plants, whether that be trees or animals, or you know, water or anything. Because the more that we appreciate things, the less consumer that we are, or the less of a consumer that we become, right? So being a consumer means that we don't really appreciate what we are taking into ourselves. When we're overly consuming, we, you know, because I know my God, I used to go to, you know, the grocery store, get all kinds of junk, get all, you know, any types of food, go to Wendy's and McDonald's and any of the fast food restaurants, and I would crush that information that is so poor. Not only is it poor, but also it's, I don't even know where it comes from. I don't even know how bad it is for my system. I don't even know what it's doing to people in general. And when I became health conscious, that's when I started to appreciate. That's part of reconnecting to nature, is becoming health conscious, or to be conscious in general. So the more conscious we become, the more that we do this great work, the more that we reconnect to nature, and the more that we will start to make those big changes that you know, lessen the harm in this world. And that's the goal. The goal is, if we truly care, the goal is to create less harm and appreciate, you know, find that level of appreciation, because to really engulf that, to really feel yourself, you know, to be spiritually connected to Earth is such an empowering transformation. It's such an empowering feeling. And you know, the more, like my mom's book, Give to Nature, Indica Martin, give to nature and nature will give to you. I mean, that says it all. You know, to appreciate and to give back, you will, natural law will come to your aid. Nature will come to your aid when you're aligned and doing the right thing. And even in times that you find yourself stuck in a situation where, you might have to do something that you don't want to do. And that's hard, like I never want to take the life of any other being. I don't even like to, take the life of plants necessarily. But I know that we're in this condition and we're doing the best that we can. That's why I really like what Passio says of just, it's all about doing the least amount of harm. And, that's just so crucial, because that really does create appreciation. And, that's something we don't really see in this world, is true appreciation.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah. And some will have gratitude
Gratitude,
for
right?
the animals that are killing, and they're giving their body. And actually our earlier humans were taking everything from the animals. Nothing left almost of the
Word to the
animals.
natives.
Yeah, that's why earlier this evening I said if you find yourself in the position to be, hunting and whatever, don't waste any of it.
Yeah.
Use it all. Use it all. Don't be
Absolutely.
disrespectful. Do not disrespect their sacrifice.
I agree.
Don't fucking do that. And
Can
I
I
mean
bring
it
up
because I just dropped the first F-bomb of the evening. We're 2 hours
Adam.
in and I haven't cussed once. Proud of myself for that. Pat on the back. But yeah, don't waste a thing. There's ways to use everything, even hey, get ready, even down to the bones. There are ways to use the bones.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
just
what I meant.
saying.
Also,
Some Avatar, like James Cameron Avatar. I see you. You know what I mean? Like that kind on that level. Like don't be disrespectful to their sacrifice. That's all.
Yep.
Fuck yeah. Can I bring up a point that hasn't been touched on enough in regards to this whole preparation situation? Because,
Yes.
we're standing on eternal principles, right? We are eternal spirits living in this human flesh vessel in this three-dimensional thing where people want to act like the bifurcation, James, you're saying is like, oh, we're ascending to 5D along with 5G, and we're somehow bypassing 4D, whatever the fuck. And like, it's a lot of spiritual, bypassing, whatever the fuck, escapism.
No, what I meant
We're
by
not supposed to
what I
anchor
meant by
everything
a
down here.
bifurcation of
Bifurcation,
society
yeah, sorry, yeah.
was what I meant by that is like that
I
it's
know what you
very
meant. I was just saying, like, other people
okay.
kind of, refer to this whole 5D thing as if, like the Earth is splitting into two things, as if, this is the new age take on what you were saying. That's what I was saying. But that was stemming off of just the fact, we're actually eternal spirits and all this stuff, and we have to conquer this whole idea, misconception, whatever the hell, creation of fear. Fear is the mind killer. First cosmic law principle, it's all about your state of mind, right? If we're living in a state of fear, like, every time they're stirring the pot or turning up the temperature on the old frog in the water, thinking it's some kind of jacuzzi, whatever, right? So yeah, who actually fears death still? I sure as fuck don't. I've come into where the fuck I felt like I needed to be. There's a lot more I can do, but you know what? Death is just another door to the next one. So this, people need to understand it and understand everything that you have, all your possessions, it's all temporary. And this is another thing that in regards to the whole preparation, mentally, emotionally, like Nate, you were talking about, like, and yeah, like there's so many things in all different directions that are pulling at our hearts, the heartstrings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And don't y'all know that angels don't play this harp with a HAAP? You follow me with the scalar tech and what the heck? But yeah, people are still in that our complex state of survival mode, a state of fear of what's gonna happen next, nuclear bombs and all this stuff going on. It's the same fucking James, you were saying. I wanted to mention, yeah, we understand the patterns in their fucking playbook. This is an old crusty ass fucking new era version of the Cold War, America versus Russia, whatever the fuck, right? But yeah. Anyone want to touch on the whole idea of conquering fear and getting over these humps and mental and emotional blockages of that, which will allow us to actually, I don't know, not be so like stuck in that reptilian state of it's not just fights or flights, but it's also freeze and fawn, as Leslie mentioned in one of her presentations at the conversions. And yeah, so anyone got anything on that?
Yeah, I think that that something you touched upon is, first of all, I'd like to say that I do fear death. I
It's
have
an
not come to
instinctual thing.
terms.
I wanted to make the
Yeah.
caveat. Yeah, like just
I personally have not come to terms with my own mortality yet. I'm only 33 years old, and I have two young children that need me. So it's a very tough gap there. Very tough bridge to build. And on top of all of that, I know what it's like to lose a parent at a young age. So it's kind of doubly a sensitive thing. But do I let that type of fear stop me from doing right action while I'm here? No. To the best of my ability, I perform the most right action that I'm physically and right now capable of performing. So I mean, that's kind of what I wanted to say about that. And then the fear thing, like you quoted Frank Herbert there, like fear is the mind killer. You're right. There was another thing that you were saying in that I wanted to touch upon, but now I'm getting a little hazy. So
yeah, Jen, thank you, man. Because I don't have kids, and I forget to touch upon that aspect. And I was planning to have kids for a long time, and I think Jen mentioned the whole natural birth thing, and this is what my ex-wife and I kind of had to deal with, of her having that fear of all the pain of the birthing process and all this hoopla and programming to all that. And yeah, she even quoted like, oh, like I've heard people have actually died giving birth and this and that. And it was like, this is kind of 2020 whatever, right? But whatever, like on to the next, y'all good.
So let's talk about this a little bit. It's a great point, the fear of death. So I think I've been in my life encountering death a lot. There was a lot of people around me, relative and people that I loved, they're gone for years. It doesn't mean that you're not afraid of death. I'm gonna take myself as an example. My sister died from generalized cancer at the age of 11. I was 12, and death has been at both a curse and a door that opened, because I realized that we were we have a date, an expiration date. And sure, it hurts. There's a mourning process when you lost someone you love, but death is, if you're afraid of death, you're afraid of living. Essentially, it comes together, because you're not gonna take risk. You're not gonna try to go out of your comfort zone. And we were talking about security earlier. And I think security is there to titillate this fear of death. And for me personally, after all these experience around me close, I I'm not saying I'm afraid of death, but I reconciled my fears with love and understanding. Yeah, I'm gonna put the comment up. Western culture made talking about death a taboo, and politics and religion. Don't talk about religion. Don't talk about politics with your family. You know, and these things needs to be like fucking pounded. You know, because you have old families tearing themselves apart for garbage, for nonsense. Like, oh, I like more this fucking asshole face, that are in the playing cards. You know, we had this beautiful, election. I fucking hate this because people are like calling them, oh, I'm a conservative, I'm a liberal, and they're taking their cults and they're bragging about it. Oh, we're gonna change the system, we're gonna this time it's gonna be the greatest ones, this guy there, he knows what he's talking about and all this bullshit. And I'm not talking about the people who are outside of the freedom movement. I'm talking about the people inside, delusional as hell. They don't know what fucking liberty means, freedom means. Some people, like the freedom movement here, are the older ones, the people who are on the 60s and their 70s and their 50s. Okay, these people were indoctrinated into this day job, 40 hours a week. They were indoctrinated in it, and they were the first that they were devastated by the TV and the medias, and now they're and it's the same thing. It's like a religion, you know. Oh, you if you don't do that, it's like it's your duty. It's your duty to choose your master, you know. And I'm telling them, you're fucking wrong. Democracy is a lie, and you cannot see through it. It's like here in Canada, it's I at the risk of repeating myself, there's a lot of good people here, but most of them are sleepwalkers. I'm calling them the sleepwalkers. Okay? There there's some people who tell them go this way, and they follow the arrows on the ground. You know, keep your distance, you know? And people like this shit. Okay, they like this false security. They're gonna prevent them to die. Okay, this is about death now. We're talking about death, fear of death. You
There's a
know?
lot of microphobes out there, and keep your distance socially. 6 feet in front, 6 feet, behind, 6 feet to the side. What is that? Triple six in the mix. HT double hockey sticks. What else you want to blend into the mix? Type of thing. What the fuck?
And
That's
yes,
it. Flash in the pan, my man.
it's
Good
I mean,
goddamn.
it's fucking everywhere.
Yep.
Everywhere. You know? It's death is everywhere. They're selling it. This is selling the shit. Death. Movies, music, entertainment, religion. Religion is they like death. Because this is it takes the people by their balls. You already have people who are scared shitless of everything, of the
Hmm.
boogeyman. you know. And the last 2 years, this was exactly, I say that. You're afraid of the boogeyman now? How old are you? You know, are you 6? Are you 5? Prove me that it's not the boogeyman. You know, I'm I mean, we have to deal with children, little scared children. They're there with their white hair, and they're there and voting and tell you, oh, you should get your shot. You know, do it for your grandmas and your grandpas. You know, it's not the government who said that. It's your family. It's your friends. It's your cousin. You know, it's your neighbor. You know, S- and why they're doing that? A a fear of death, essentially.
Yep. And we're the boogeyman now. You know, the unjabbed, right?
Boogada, 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 boogada.
Yeah, that's very very great points. And you know, the way that I look at it is, you know, I used to have fear of responsibility, and you know, I look at love and fear as degrees in between, right? Because we do fear the unknown, and you know, I can't sit here and say that I don't fear the unknown, but I also, you know, this is perfect for this show because we're preparing by being prepared for what the unknown is. So the more that we know, the more we're prepared to deal with whatever that is, and therefore we won't have as much fear when we're met with whatever that is. And you know, it really is true that if we're coming from a place of love, then we're living in accordance to love and in opposition to fear to a degree. You know, especially if we're taking in information, we're taking in knowledge to know what we do not understand, or to know and learn how to understand what we don't understand, what we don't know. And that is that is what has helped me get away from fear. And you know, I still have little fears about certain things, but for the most part, I'm living in accordance to love. You know, that love frequency, because that is in, you know, alignment to natural law. So the more that we learn about this law, the more that, you know, it unfolds, right? And that means that love is unfolding, which means that fear is becoming less. So the more that we go in that direction where we are manifesting true anarchy, you know, where we're manifesting true order in nature, then, you know, we see less of the things that we fear, because we're taking chances. We're you know, doing things that we typically were enslaved to, fear that we were enslaved to in the past, and now we're moving away from that in the direction that reconnects us to nature, the true, you know, the law of love. And you know, that is what we really if we don't want to live in fear, that is what we truly have to strive for. We have to educate ourselves, because that really is how, you know, educate and then communicate. And once we do that, we are manifesting, you know, we are in alignment to love. And fear is it's a bitch. It really when we're in that R complex and we're operating from that part of our mind, it really can if we don't really know, if we don't have the knowledge, it really can be damaging. To act out of fear can be very damaging. And I look back at my teen years where I acted out of fear. I didn't know what love meant, and it got me in a lot of trouble, and that caused a lot of my enslavement internally. So it really just comes down to how bad we want to know and understand to get out of the cage of fear.
So I just want to add something a little spicy. Okay.
Ooh.
So if you don't fear anything, you're fucking stupid.
Yep.
You're not gonna survive a long time.
Yeah.
Fear is one of your guide.
Mhm.
Sure.
You're gonna know when something wrong. You're gonna have this feeling, this cold in your stomach, and then your harm air are gonna dress up. We all like know this feeling, you know. And I'm not. I just want to say to people, it's the goal here. It's not to get rid of fear. It's to tame it,
Right.
to control it
Tame that
when it happens.
reptile.
It can be a lifesaver. How many stories we heard that people were like shit scared of dying, and they made something. They made something like a miracle, like, or people were scared for one of their loved ones, and they're doing something miraculous, like super strength, and intuition. It's fear is not your enemy. Fear is when you control your emotions. Fear is one of your best friends, actually. It's not about getting rid of it, it's really about taming it. And it's not easy. I'm not telling you that it's easy. Okay, but I'm a shadow worker, and what my shadow work led me to stoicism. Okay, and stoicism is being able to look at things without your emotions. You have control over it. And I have the psychopath. I have it, you know. And this part there, it's to make it the shadow work is making peace with it. It's making amend to it, because you cannot get rid of it ever. If you went to the dark recess of depression and um, mental suffering, psychic suffering, we all know this part of ourselves. This and in the movies and the cartoons, this is this level devil on your left, you know, the one that says you that you need it, you know, you want it, you want this, it's bad, the thing that you're going to do is bad, but it's still a part of you, you know. And this is a good example there, the little devil and the angel on both shoulders, you know. This is what consciousness is all about. Are you conscious enough to care about yourself, and are you conscious enough to care about people around you? And most people don't get through the first one. And I'm gonna repeat it, and maybe finish on this sentence from Mark Passio's work. There's two mistakes you can do in the path of truth. It's not beginning, and it's stopping halfway through and not going all the way. So I just wanted to give some people something to chew a little bit. And
Oh yeah, Fred, if you
so
don't mind, real
yeah,
quick,
go on.
I mean, you mentioned community, just like in our immediate environment. This is something we didn't even touch on, and I just wanted to mention this kind of real quick, and people can kind of take this for what it is and fucking run with it. Run to their neighbors and say what's up, and actually be present. What kind of relationship have people established with the people around them in their immediate radius? You know, that's a question that I just pose upon everyone. You know, like I have my own shit. Everyone has their own stuff. We're all kind of scattered around, and like it's really just trying to find any kind of common ground where we're not fucking bickering over any kind of fucking bullshit. So when shit actually possibly could whatever the fuck hit the fan, that we're actually on decent terms and we could work with each other and not against each other. I think that's a really major key point that could have been mentioned a long time ago. But yeah,
So
that's all.
I want to thank you guys for being there and the people who are who did it all the way through. I think there's a few of them. I recognize Eliana. She was there, coming all the way through. Thank you, sister, for being there all the time. She's always there, always at the rendezvous. Um, and I want you guys to tell me again, how do people who don't know you or know your work can access to it? Just to finish on that. So, Nate, you want to start?
Yeah, so if you want to find more of my work and Brandon and Douglas Martin's work, you can go to cubbyhole.com and start at podcast number 1, work your way forward. But you can also find all my work, my great work, under Nate, and it'll say Outcasting right next to it. And Outcasting is my new show that I do solo, and it is definitely a lot of very important information on how to discover truth and how to understand natural law and morality. And it's a very, very important investment for anybody. And it is kind of like, I would say, the beginner level in a sense. But I'm taking a different aim at it. And it is essentially all about helping us move in the direction of freedom. So I just want to say thank you again, Fred, for having me on. And this has been a very awesome conversation. And I really appreciate you guys. I appreciate all your work. And I'm very thankful that there are people like you in this world where we can have these types of conversations. So thanks again.
So I just a shameless plug before. I'm having Nate on the 22nd of October on the podcast, and we're gonna talk about natural law. So just like that. Derek. Oh, no sound.
You're muted.
Oh, you're muted, man.
Let him go. Let him go.
Ah oui, c'est ça. Les gars, excusez-moi. Mais bon. Fred, merci beaucoup encore. Et encore. Et encore.
Ça me fait plaisir.
Yes. I miss speaking that language, but yeah, just not stress, I can digress and whatever the hell, but if you want to be possibly taking your time, you could check me out on YouTube under Awakening Mind, and I got a lot less what I have on Odysee. Y'all ought to see what I really got, and yeah.
Yeah, music.
100 mixes of conscious, spiritual, hip-hop, esoteric, occult, whatever, de-occulted, mystic, holistic logistics, and not to get all into specifics. Yeah.
Thank you, Derek.
Yeah.
James.
Wesh.
All right, everybody, we made it. As as the night draws in. I'm fucking tired. And then I go cussing again. Anyways, I'm James Cordiner. I'm the host of A Hitchhiker's Guide to Truth. My website is freeyourmindne.com. You can find my work at my Odysee channel. You can find it at the onegreatworknetwork.com and the creators page. Suggest everybody go over there. And if you like the tapestry behind me, you can go to a website that I am not affiliated with, but I like these guys. They're cool. It was the last one. It was on the wall. It was the display model. And I was like, I want that one. And the guy was like, we don't have any more. And he took it off the wall and he let me get that one that was off the wall because he knew I wanted it and that it meant something to me. And in the process, he found a replacement that he wanted to hang up on the wall, and it was a tapestry of Che Guevara, and he threw it on the ground and said, what the fuck is this doing in my tent? And I knew I was in the right place. So I want to plug him. His name is James Barker, and his website is www.wormtown.com. So that's wormtown.com. It's Wormtown Trading, wormtown.com. Go there and check out his website. See if you can get any merch from these guys. They're really cool. So, and then other than that, thank
Shattering
you, Fred.
the Illusion.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it's all done. But I mean, if you guys want to check out the replays of the Shattering the Illusion conference, you can find the individual presentations that I uploaded onto the Odysee channel. It's its own independent channel. Do not go to A Hitchhiker's Guide to Truth expecting to see anything more than my own presentation. If you'd like to see everyone else's presentations, go to the dedicated channel Shattering the Illusion on Odysee.com, ODYSEE.com, and check it out there. Uncensored. Fuck YouTube. They already pulled down one of the presenters' material and for copyright infringement when it's, anyways. As I always leave podcasts, I want to remind everybody that doing the right thing is not always easy, but it is still the right thing to do, and I implore that you do that. So thank you, Fred, for having me.
Thank you, man. Thank you for being there. So the LIBERcast is on YouTube. Hey, fuck you, YouTube, motherfuckers, by the way. If you can see that, YouTube, go fuck yourself. Okay, I lost like videos there. Okay, the hard work, you're fucking censoring the censorship, using censorship on people. There's a lot of people that I was following on Facebook, and they're not there anymore. So I'm just putting them the finger. By the way, if I got censored, because we said health related COVID shit, huh? We have a chance that it's getting banned because of that. But fuck you, YouTube. Okay, so it's gonna be on Facebook too, and then Odysee and BitChute. BitChute is another bitch that we're not sure about this.
Exactly.
Maria West was censored there.
One of the best. Yeah.
And yeah. It's fucking pathetic.
Yep.
Okay. So,
Gatekeepers.
So thank you, everyone. What?
Gatekeepers.
Yeah.
Late
Asshole.
sleepers.
Yeah. So thank you, everyone, for being there and following us all the way through. And we're gonna see in the next one. I don't know when. Maybe I'm gonna do a French one and rent.
Wesh.
Yeah, I'm preparing this one. I'm preparing this one for a long time. Moral relativism. I'm gonna have a French presentation on that, and people will not like me. I'm gonna.
Not that they like you now.
No, I'm having a good crowd. behind me, and good followers that are always there and making good comments. So I'm not afraid of trolls
Yeah.
and uh and these fucking censorship. So thank you everyone, and have a good night, and see you soon. Bye.